Alright, 나도 가서 나도 잡아친 비추에 냠낸 제발라 장슈셈 나 장슈셈이 냠낸 제가 림바를 마소나 장슈셈기 좀 많이 받게 되네 장슈셈 계획이 제세회 제례야 되네 네 점도 투모만 비게 잡아친 비 투모배 겹로 점도체 되네 점도체네 되네 아니 가서 뭐셈디게 초회송 뭐셈 초회송해야 되지 근데 뭐셈 초회송 산에 되네 뭐셈기 랍자라야 랍야디 랍고래 사치 랍고에 되네게 랍자 랍네 되네 아니 전주심 비교 줘봐 바로 침부도 나 두용 오버실이야 아니 지 디기 팬에다 연대 삼다지 델레 롭되게 삼바장 되네 롭되게 비삼바 약보실레도 되네 주도 랑고레스 되네 주도 도시네 주도 랑고고레스 가상한 대신 발마선 디바도 쉬어라.
Good morning. And last night we started to look at when one has trained well in establishing the basis to generate bodhicitta, one generates bodhicitta. Thereafter, one goes for the unique Mahayana refuge. Thereafter, engages in the ritual of aspiring bodhicitta. And having engaged in the ritual of aspiring bodhicitta, then one reflects on the four trainings or precepts of aspiring bodhicitta. Thereafter, one reflects on the many benefits of engaging the practices of a bodhisattva, namely the 6 perfections and 4 ways to positively influence others. And thereafter, one takes the vow of the bodhisattva, generates thereby engaging bodhicitta. So this is, in brief, the stages that we looked at last night. So continuing with the text, so in the handout, you're at the bottom of page 82, and on the published book, the first paragraph, or the second paragraph on page 72. Even at the risk of your life, do not become tainted by a rude downfall. Also, try your best not to become sullied by small and medium contaminations or misdeeds either. However, if you become tainted by one of these, purify it well by means of the countermeasures for infractions as instructed.
Looking at
that first sentence, so the very first words in Tibetan we don't have in English, it's just thereafter. So thereafter refers to thereafter having taken the vow of the bodhisattva, then one, I'll say it in the order of the Tibetan, one must ensure that one does not become tainted by a root downfall, and one must have a determination that is similar to with which we guard our lives. We see our life as something of great value, and therefore we take great care to guard our life. With a similar determination, we should guard our bodhisattva vow and ensure that we do not commit a root downfall.
그래서 나는 저기 메시리아 하는 거는 저기 다 자체의 소소의 소어와 기디네 내가 저 소어의 교비하게 된다래야 아니 그냥 저기 소어의 기 전부 휴전은 저 지거로 봐 just 자체셔 뒤로 봐다 지난 딜레자 자체와 진에 전주심비게 자동 마고 봐진 송고그래서 왔다 변에 소어로 두개 그 전주심비 자동 뒤당 가와의 제기심에 그 소동인 남는데 근데 딜레야 소동에 딜라 자체시네 소동외에 딜레 전주심비 자동디 안에 바가와 지금 했을까 그게 매선 비두시네 삼다 송고그래서 그러다.
to understand this expression that one comes across from time to time, even at the risk of your life. So we all value our life above everything else. So we always are on guard to protect this life, to ensure that we do not lose this life. So in a similar way, we should have a similar attitude or take similar care of our bodhisattva vow to ensure that we do not commit any rude downfall. In the same way that we ensure that we do not risk our life, we should not risk our bodhisattva vow, not risk committing a rude downfall.
And then 마세 안에 가르친 거라서는 사바 충전에 다 예제 남경 마고발의 베이징에서 단 전주 선배게 자동되게 중바이나 전주 선배 돈바 동도거와 나데네게 예제세야나 사바 충전세야 답변의 컨트롤도 되셔로 되네게 녀모바 충전지에다 안에 예제로 중바이나 대속에 안에 전주 선배 돈바데 동고 말에 이내야 대수 송고고에서 사바 충전에다 예제 남경 마고발의 베이징에서 가서는 예바되게 가서 교인군에 마고발의 배수제거에 계신 분 산유고바 토발라 녀모바 차산 방고고를 되네자 안델이야 사바 충전에다 예시게 마고발의 배바시고 그래서 당한도 가브리엘에 간에서 어디디 동반동고마 디속 제나 가요 말씀 제야 저러와다 니네 지교 말해서 그러다 차산 안에 강 삽삽진 바송고 그래서 배수진 송고 그래서
Then the next sentence, also, try your best not to become sullied by small and medium contaminations or misdeeds either. So, for example, small and medium contaminations and misdeeds we could understand to relate to our afflictions such as anger, to guard our mind to ensure we do not come under the control of the afflictions. So in this way we can understand small and medium contaminations. And the purpose of this statement here is to guide us to not come under the delusion that small infractions don't really matter, or influence from the afflictions at times doesn't really matter, but rather to have the clear understanding these afflictions are what we need to abandon in order to attain enlightenment. Therefore, coming under their influence does matter. And moreover, to the extent that these afflictions do continue to influence us, lead us to create non-virtue, our attainment of enlightenment for the sake of others is delayed. So this then is the meaning of the second sentence.
다지대 권앙 선 동위기 치주 지대로 송배권에 레버 장스 가브리엘이야 그지 다데니게 베지게 자동 마고바지 베지 냠내 야보 송바이나 양 지긴 genwange 가브리엘이야 데니게 자동 거바 용그래 아니 아니제 거바 용그래 안데서 데니 여바이나 아니 같이 오라스네 데니게 아니 동위 치주 아니 베네 대초 샤돔 제당디 마 송샤여바디 송바나 신제네 아니 마 샤돔 제고리에서 레버 장스든 샤돔 제바네 마 다루고와.
But in all reality, one will at times commit small and medium contaminations or misdeeds. So therefore, the next sentence, if you still become tainted by one of these, purify it well by means of the countermeasures for infractions as instructed.
안데네게 송제 다시 간절에 주돔 랑세베 제리아 아는 주돔 송자데 가라스네 자동 접게디게 야고 송 안디마자 자동 마제 안델이야 예제디게 마고바체 송고고리에서 송해야 되네레 되네 송 베시다 되네기 예 genwan게 되네그 거바이나 안데 샤돔디게 제고리야 샤돔 마제 바제 샤교 마 샤돔제 도시네 샤돔 야고 제바네 되네 야야 지게 네바타야다 근데 야야도 가서 좀 말해라고 그러와 되네 제 샤돔 야고 제고리에 사실 동벌에 여러와 전시선배 자동 중반의 샤돔제 샤화제 동벌 야게 연반의 그 동반 얘기로와 지나 샤돔이라고 지역을 해서 돼.
So that's what's
Bendigo 당데 어디 중사다가 내가 차사선선 파샤샤베는 야게 소야기네요 말와. 안지지마 샤돔디기 제다디기 마 손셔바나 초가 송바나시 샤돔제 도셔베는 야게 안전시선배 동벌 song don't be young or was. That didn't answer the road that the Juma songs and pipe to Jasha Churwa, the Jabanede, Yaki Yaskaiman, Yakasakonchimura or what, then is that this Murwa.
Thus far, Lama Tsongkhapa has been advising that we need to guard our mind from committing a root downfall and do so with great care, and also to guard against any smaller infractions. But if we do commit even a root downfall, but certainly a smaller infraction, we should not give up. We should not think, oh, this is too difficult for me, I cannot do it. But rather, we should purify and we should take the vows again. So if one commits a root downfall, it's not then that one cannot continue with engaging bodhicitta, but one can then and should receive the vows again.
Dene ane garcha orasene dene chinru jila lapjingas jidane ya jidane da jime nyamlen ja churim seba zunru samde ane sherapse jidane chinru nyamlen de ba jang do lapgo gore di nyamlen che gore se gore da.
Lama Tsongkhapa then continues, then train in the 6 perfections in general. So the 6 perfections being generosity, ethics, patience, joyous perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. So in general, these we need to train in.
Andi malabna digo labkura di malabane sanjo ko thoye merwa da sanjo ko to bala disu nyamne maje bane me banza dini jidanda chinru chile jidane chinru le lobjon je gore esaje disumorwa da.
Having generated bodhicitta, this determination to become a Buddha for the sake of others, and then thereafter made the promise of the Bodhisattva vow, which is that I will engage in the various practices of the Bodhisattva in order to attain enlightenment, one then needs to do so. And then, therefore, one needs to engage in practices such as the 6 perfections in order to achieve one's goal, that of Buddhahood.
That jidane chindu labu word in a cabardo mixigi da carjorasene as cabardos sim gay mi bala jider do goldo rumwiki chir and ishine yongo something la labos.
Lama Tsongkhapa continues, I'll just change the translation of one word, and especially in meditative stabilization, the essence of shamatha, so as to make the mind serviceable for focusing on whatever virtuous object you wish.
Dan bene chindu lava jidan chindu labu gore ina da jimba da churim la soba seba zunri le nyamne je shine ma do baina dene ya ye do thu ya nyom pa thu marwa semche ji ne ba da kewa top chimbo ligo mara chesa da kewa top chimbo le bala dene ane shine du gore je chesa kebar do sem de kewe mi bala ji da de do ko do rungwa sem kewe chola samda ji tikade simyamba de baina naming odo masonwa ane zechune ne tubachi gores jesan dini goza di chido ane shine tu gores jesan shine zo da shine tu ya gechembores shine yongo samdala lapsede.
So the reason why one must train in particular in meditative stabilization, the essence of calm abiding or shamatha, is so that one needs to in order to attain enlightenment, one needs to accumulate extensive merit. And with a mind that is unstable, that is easily distracted, it is difficult to do so. So when engaging in generosity, ethics, and so forth, one needs to have a stable, undistracted mind, hence the need to train in calm abiding. Because in this way, one's virtuous activities will lead to the accumulation of extensive merit.
저기 이제 개월의 개위 미발라 시당 저 개위 자와지 삼다도 델야네 가지 델야 삼다마나 다랑 강 지금 루심 강한 마테바시 다랑 안디지 셈디네 투바시 고고레스 베나한 저기 개위스마 진비게 동외 셈바루 삼다 두스tam비 담비 갑라 아니 람사 아니 동외 셈비게 파연 동외 셈바 삼다도 진비기 냠렌지니 시베 갑라 셈두스디 개와 델야 삼다도 and Gabriel Namyangi on the Sunday Chikshamba, Lerashan, ordering Lerat in the chair, did how I made 2 or Geshe was, then as last some did Manepache, Sim Chandal about Troduata, and you and Rangi, get you all that you divided Kamyam Drada, the energy to hold some desire to give you some the nigger sometimes the Lamsa Sim depart, Namia the church, Chulo about Shorchen. 这就念不得军旅部念嘛都超过了吧？就像你军旅部念退下来呀，我那个就新年主播过来，去新年主播那，你那给搞了什么单位呢？带了这就多什么单位的，你嘛都想到了呀，先马出就用过的，今天咋的？给米巴啦，过路中啊是的，俺这个的，俺这什么的，但新年马头跟的也过路马中啊超过了，这个是第什么单位的，那么啥，这个想到是这样子，先怕小着过了吧？就是的，我们中啊。 그래서 가서 셈나 장도를 맡아 바로 채고다. 장도 꼴로 중앙에서 같이 되나 뒤에 두건 그 장도를 맞서는 쉬우 차야지 그거로 봐. 어디 요한에도 나라 내 신에 두고 그래 해서래.
To accumulate extensive merit, one requires a stable mind and also a body and mind that is serviceable. So we can understand this term serviceable as being, in terms of the mind, being able to place stably on the object, free of distraction. In this way, one will be able to meditate extensively on a single topic. So, for example, if one's meditating on generosity, but then after a little while, one's mind becomes distracted, perhaps remembering, oh, I need to do this, and I should write something down. And the mind gets distracted in this way. This then weakens the mind of generosity that we are trying to cultivate in the meditation, and therefore weakens the merit that we are accruing. Or thoughts of attachment may arise, thinking, oh, being drawn towards a particular distraction, maybe having a good time with one's friends and so forth. This too then serves by the mind being distracted, by the mind not being able to long abide on the object, one's merit is greatly impeded. So therefore, so as to be able to accrue far more merit from the same meditation, one needs to be able to stably abide on the object, free of distraction, hence the need for calm abiding.
그래서 내니 이제 디나시 당한 저기 다데 가수바가 저기 bendigo 장수 셈 개념에 장수 셈이 판연 섬다야다 아니 저기 장수 셈이 주업 바로 지을러야 판연이 되는데 이게 섬다베네 다지 내니게 섬다베 qab려야 셈 샤다 쳐줘야 돼 저기 쳐줘야 돼 떼스마도 되마도 남 샤다 쳐줘야 최고로 진짜 네 신이 마도 신이 셈디 아니 그 될이야 디랑 삼다지 뒤투에게 될이야 네 가르솔 장도를 마서 마태와자 강아테니 거기서 심로 쇼르고 제가 디니에 될이야 네 제주도 네데 가르소 소수에게다 bendigo 장수 심기 판연 삼다위네 셈찬다 남이 마성화제 판연랑 다랑 판연기랑 그거려야 삼당 투에디 고야 고고와 디니 자데 신에기 냠내 여바이나 디니 띵게 징게 대레바 삼 대한제 샹다 심마초 용고로 디니 제바이나 네디 장수심이 판연 셈비 개와디 개와 dob침보자 뉴버침보시 차고로와 언디네자 신의 두고서 제가 셈 개위 미발라서도 셈데 개와직리아 bendigo 장수심이 판연 삼바의 진비에 삼단 냠내 삼단 수트미에서 냠내 삼단 가리나 개위 자와직리아 냠는시에 디네 삼단도 qabla 셈 아니 처음마도 와제 다가랑 디고 다가랑 삼단지 냠내지 투여지 고고래 디 고와자 델리아네 신의 두고래 에서지 계신 분 봐주면 숨로
Through the process of meditation, we become habituated to a virtuous object, and this is how we accrue merit. So, when one's meditating on, for example, the benefits of bodhicitta, one is accruing merit, one's becoming habituated to those benefits. And as, let's say, one's heart is opening, giving rise to a wish, I want to become a bodhisattva, I want to generate bodhicitta for the sake of all beings. This is serving the purpose of the meditation is being served. But then when one's mind quickly becomes distracted, then one's habituation stops, and the merit we accrue is impeded. Whereas if one's mind is able to stably abide on the object as long as one needs, then one can meditate on the benefits of bodhicitta. When one's heart opens up, the determination arises to become a bodhisattva, and one is not distracted from this, that determination becomes very stable within oneself, very deep within oneself. So therefore, we need to train in meditative stabilization and bring it to the point where it is of strength to be calm abiding or shamatha.
Yungurwa, and the Lusim Mashiwarwa, and the Mazan Lelo Yad, and then the Lelo other Jigansam or that Nyovdor child Yungro, the Nigger, the Chadu Kawade, Yamlende, and the Puitako Yakoshi to Gomara, and then Lelo Kia, and the Lusim, Luli, Nayoyata, and the Ome Semble Makiwa Chat, the Kangate, the Dini do, Chesadizo, and Anjugi, Dingis in Shine Mebaza, indeed Tone, Yungurwa, Dininza, and Juke Kawati, Puitako, Timbu Yakoshi to Gomares, Chesada Chine Jubainam, Sosuke gave some Mibatel Mija Kaze, Yamlan Chavine, Semdi, Mibadan Chira Matova, and the Lulia. Ganga Neva, similar Ganga Neva, Lusim and Dewa Neva, and the Chigilelo Majeva, and the Jeza, Jida Dudu, Sosokazi, Yambasha Devina, some Nakazi Devina, Sosuki, the next Dioa, somebody Dibardo, Tachi to a Jungoras, the Dini Tandala, she need to go, yes, that she need to catch him by the Sungor.
The mind not being stable, as we know, it so easily becomes distracted. But moreover, the mind also can become weak and in need of rest, and therefore laziness arises, thinking, I need to take a break, this is all a bit too much. And so laziness can arise. So this is a sign of the mind not being serviceable. Similarly, the body can also complain with its aches and pains, and this is a sign of the body not being serviceable. Whereas when one has developed shamatha or calm abiding, one is able to abide on the object in an undistracted way, and one's body and mind is serviceable. In other words, the body and mind becomes suitable to engaging in sustained meditation. The body and mind no longer serves to distract one from one's meditation. Therefore, the cultivation of calm abiding is of particular importance, and it's mentioned here specifically for that reason.
There's a Deniki Mangbo Chile and the Kin Disuki of Kawa Puta was late to Mebanza, and the Shine to Korea, such as that, Yamnet, the Gabriel Nihu to go to Gokanda to call Mubaki, and Nihu. Anjim Muba Makeva, Imahova, and Ajikawa de Patsage to Tushin, Negubania, Sem Sevu Meva, Sevu Medi, Niamaho, Sevu Medi, Yudi, Yad, Jengu and Assemblia. Yu de Sevu Mashawachi Yungore, and she's Yu de Sevu Shana Assembly, and Nubi Shukro, she had a narrow meeting at Yungoro, and the Niki Mango Yungu Baza, the student Chazan Seche, Yamlin Puita Pochayala, and then she needed to go over the session. Yu Sevu Meva and Yu Sevu Medic, and then they knocked on the Yungura.
So in addition to our mind being distracted and thereby our accumulation of merit, our habituation to the virtuous object being greatly impeded, laziness also arises. Moreover, so too can lethargy, where one's mind becomes quite dull. And then one may be resting with the object or meditating on the object, but one's not really engaging with it because it's not appearing clearly to the mind. So because the mind is dull, it's like a fog has descended, one is not engaging clearly with the object. And also sleepiness may well then follow, the mind becoming very heavy and one wanting to take rest. So these are some of the many faults or obstacles that arise. And calm abiding, the attainment of calm abiding, will eradicate all of these.
Adine lamdren les wenshi gibi chirdo shinela labar songba ni chunba zamde jo ni ye gap shando laodong gibi chirdo songbe de chirdo yang shine dubos.
Then Lama Tsongkhapa continues. The statement in Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment that you train in shamatha in order to develop clairvoyance is only an example. Atisha himself stated on other occasions that it also serves to develop special insight. Therefore, you should develop shamatha for that purpose too.
George lamdren nalaya karsonera sene lamdren le 원시 기회 치도 신의를 라브라자 송여를 세치다 원시 기 주보를 제 원시 주보원자 원시 주야를 년의 신의 고고 제자들이 원시 기 된다라 네 신의 주보를 해서 송여를 세제.
As Lama Atisha states in the Lamp for the Path of Enlightenment, Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, one needs to cultivate clairvoyance, and in order to do so, what comes about independence on the prior cultivation of calm abiding.
지나다 원시 주고에 대해 가르라네 현재 정시 선반음기 현기 된 주발라 아니 현리야 현기 삼로 나래야 아니 지게 간지 판도 가르여봐 가르 때는 콜레 즉 판도 가르여봐 대기 뒤셋 값수 바바 레드에 민도 아니 지게 데네게 텐세게 체도 제외 두샤데야 가하 예메게 캔들이야 땅원시 단에 캔 바체 캔바 캔고 원시데 현전 주비게 연라래 현전 주비 탑다 연라래 소래 원시되게 제사 원시 데네 자다 원시 주바에는 원시 또비 아니 셴다 데네게 탑아 준비 취 송사게 아니 가서 뇌도 rum위가 가사 가와예마 캔토바다 아니 코로스리아 아니 셴다 가살리아 취 디테나 코로나 판도 체여봐 가르게 도바 제자 데네자 아니 원시 또비 캔제 캔바이나 안델이야 대당 코로나 감나 매바도 코로나 팬비게 자와디 두고로와 대장 원시 두고고래 해서지 지자데 원시 두고고래 지자 원시 고고 현내 제발라 원시 대 원시 매바제데 콜리아는 지고 타과 준비 취일 되고 매바제 아니 코로나 지게 냐나게 냠내제 되바 취바이나 데니기 메질다 원시면나 소소나 타과 준비 취대 약불에서 콜 타과 준비 취시 시바이나 소바이나 안데 저렇게 판도 용거 말고 제가 타바쯤에 취해 캐멜렘바 되기면 봐이나 데네 델레 아니 다디 지게 거의 다 타바쯤에 되 요마다 가세서 데니게 카다야게 디보사야게 냥아 용거로 봐 데네 인자다 가실리 취마 덴발라야 아니 탑게 투제된 땡고자 원시의 고고와레스 제자 데니자 원시의 고고레스 원시의 요발라 신의 마둡나 원시의 요 말 제자 당신의 고고레스 디송요레 제레.
The purpose of clairvoyance for a bodhisattva is that the heart wish of the bodhisattva is to be of benefit to others, both temporary benefit and trying to guide them to attain lasting happiness of enlightenment. So this is the goal of the bodhisattva, and the role that clairvoyance plays in this is that clairvoyance is a useful branch or method to benefit others. Because with clairvoyance, the bodhisattva can understand what the particular wishes of a being is, and thereby can act in accordance with the being's wishes. So on the one hand, make it less likely that they annoy or frustrate the being, and thereby they end up creating non-virtue. This is not, the creation of non-virtue is not what the bodhisattva wants to happen. Rather, the bodhisattva wants to act in accordance with the various inclinations and dispositions of beings, so that the being at the very least does not create non-virtue, but ideally can strengthen their connection with the bodhisattva, and maybe even guide them to accumulate virtue. And also of great importance, that with clairvoyance the bodhisattva can recognize whether someone is interested in or inclined towards the Mahayana or not. Because if the Bodhisattva is encouraging someone in the Mahayana to engage in the Mahayana, but this person has no interest in the Mahayana, they may well end up creating a negative view of the Mahayana, criticizing the Mahayana, and in this way accumulating obstacles to their future spiritual development. That too is contrary to the wish of the Bodhisattva. The Bodhisattva only wants to benefit. So in order to be able to skillfully benefit beings and to help limit any harm that their interactions may lead to, the Bodhisattva requires clairvoyance.
Then Makava Sidu, and Makava, Manova, the Matuba, Yago Tinshin Bagores, and Delia Suvinian and Gugores, Jeda Jenda, when she market Sebaso, Jeda, and Shandy to begin, and the Yala Tapres, or didn't go water, that Chuma Tinkalia didn't go water. Jen said, the thing is, when she senior to the Jen said, the court Kaji, young girl, they call me Jen down when she said, Karachi, the nigga, when she said, Jen said, the nigga, been a Jen, the tree, Jen, she said, the nigga, Ungore, just have been a same Jen, Jaguar, Ricalia, come to meet the bed, Tarum, who wouldn't talk to Ungors, and the meeting, Tarum was here to go, Marwa, Jaguar to get meet the lamb, consulting is in Tokyo to go married, the corner lay one game. 다른 부분에 그런 사회가 shadow 지어 통투가 연구를 해서 제가당 안으로 다른 부도 통통고 말 제가 안으로 띵이진 두번에 시전세 두번 연구를 해서 시전세의 미디 진짜 미디가 다른 부분 통투에 연구를 해서 제가 제한세 어디서 왔다 민 되게 그래서 띵이진 두번 어떻게 신의 대원시에 되네 이 dob에다 두번도 먼저 미디래야 즉 다른 부분 통투에 니버지게 연구를 왕시
There's an expression or a term that's used as a synonym for clairvoyance, the eye of the Dharma. So the eye of the Dharma is a particular branch practice of a bodhisattva to engage in others. So it's not a synonym for clairvoyance, but anyway, I'll re-explain. So a particular branch practice of the Bodhisattva is called the eye of the Dharma. And it refers to this branch practice as three components, one of which is clairvoyance, another is patience, and the third is joyous perseverance. So with these three components to the eye of the Dharma, the Bodhisattva aids the Bodhisattva in benefiting others. So why is it called eye of the Dharma? Is just like some animals have a more highly developed sense of sight and thereby can see at great distances. The Bodhisattva developing an eye of the Dharma is able to be of greater impact to others through these three components of clairvoyance, patience, and joyous perseverance.
다양한 띵해진 신인 줍제 띵해진 신인 줍네 삼대 영어신 염주 톱 영어신 염주 톱산에 원시 줍제 원시 주야 지금 거래제 신인 줍세에 제라 안에 삼대 영어신 염주 세 톱 거래 이 신인 줍아서 영어신 리고 말에 삼대 영어신 염주 세 톱. 원시 염주 톱산에 신의 원시 줍고 거래 원시 줍는 원시 리고 거래 원시 줍도 거래 제가 원시 줍야다建议下다 주야 되는 용거래제 제가 님 대송한테 띵이진 주비도 용거래 다 같이两지 레기 원기 원시 용거래제 띵이진 좀 먹어지 그런 레기 원기 아직 원시지 네 베네 하다 가서 미다 돈조 이달라서 발에 어디 생기 내서 하고와 원시 되게 하고와 용거래 대수 띵이진 좀 먹어지 그런 레기 원기 된 띵이 원시 주요한 중국을 해서 원시들 이렇게 이용도와 눈돌로 열 이다라 용거래 아주 미래 용거래 되네 미가실 용거래 돼 신의 죽찬에 라신데 그 띵에 좀 권배 덮기 원시 죽고에 직체 권 먹어지 레기 원시 죽 영화 직체 이렇게 용거래 제래
To develop clairvoyance, one necessarily needs the prior cultivation of calm abiding. But merely attaining calm abiding does not equate to attaining clairvoyance. In other words, when one has attained calm abiding, then one specifically needs to cultivate clairvoyance. So this is the way that we should strive, or the Bodhisattva would strive to develop clairvoyance. First calm abiding, and then they would train specifically to attain clairvoyance. That being said, there is a second route by which some beings do have clairvoyance, and that comes about independent on specific karmic imprints that they have from prior cultivation in a prior life of meditative stabilization. So this, maybe I could call it karmic clairvoyance or clairvoyance arising from karmic imprints. This is possessed by some gods, some humans, and some beings in the and some animals and some spirits.
대단한 ben에 저기 미 다른 거 통모토를 미시시스에 다른 거 통도해줘도 미시신여 가야 여러다 미시 권여도 다른 거 통해야 돼 용거로 받아. 그래서 미시드 바비샤나 다른 거 통고 말아. 가진 가르기엔 전도 미시디 기엔 다른 거 통도 거로 봐. 이나신 안줄이야 something 신여줍네데 야 아는 거 신임주 톱사 거 신임주네 디네 띵이지 공부 톱기 미리야 안줄에 미게 원보 사바치 주고래 제리 미시 나신직 즉 그때 야가직 다 미게 원보 뜻 양정화 통투에 중고 주고 안 되네게 중요데 안 될래 되네 다른 거 통투고래 제리.
With the different types of maybe you can call them psychic perceptions, there is the one of divine sight where one can see at great distances. So this comes about through an actual change in one's sense power, one's eye sense power. So the subtle form of the eye sense power actually changes, and thereby one is able to attain the psychic perception of divine sight, where one can see at great distances. So this is similar to what humans have created with binoculars. If one wears binoculars, one can, or uses binoculars, one can see at a great distance. But when no longer using binoculars, one cannot see at great distance. But when one develops clairvoyance and the various qualities of the clairvoyances or the psychic perceptions, then one's actual physical components of the eye sense power changes, and one can see at great distance.
다데네게 조지게 손에디 람드 나라 손에디 원시 주기하게 된다라 기회치도 안에 신이 주고거래서 손여래서 디 배선 잠지래서 지난 변나 원시 개발의 신이 주고고도 와 시자다 디인스 배선 잠마도 안에 동반일의 미비게 활동 주야다 데네 활동 계의 신이 주고거래서 디 조니 값현도 lao tong giwe chido yang sungbe jiza dongba ni lao tong xia de yu de le mi be lao tong ge ba la ani de le mi be yu de le mi be xin de zhu gu xin de nie le zhu gu de de xin de zhu de xin de di de ne ani lao tong zhu gu ye chen ne song yo res de lam zhe ge de wen xie song de bie chen zhen xu bie na se bie chen xu ba ma do lam zhe wen xie ge zhu ye chido ani xin de zhu gu ma do lao tong 게 된다를 신의 주고 가서 송고 말해서 디 말해서 지난 남녀가 송야디 배선 송을 지산되네 조지기 가르송고라서 간제래 사동 깨래 신의 주고래서 진짜 신의 주비에 사동 송고래제.
But as Lama Tsongkhapa states in the text, what is found in Atisha's Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment is only an example, an illustration that to train in calm abiding in order to develop clairvoyance. So this is just an example of benefits that follow from attaining calm abiding. One also, as Lama Tsongkhapa continues, needs to develop calm abiding in order to develop special insight, which is required in order to actually realize emptiness. Atisha himself stated on other occasions that it also serves to develop special insight. Then again, as Lama Tsongkhapa then continues, therefore, you should develop shamatha for that purpose too. In other words, to develop meditative insight or special insight. Lama Tsongkhapa concludes this paragraph with, then, to cut the fetters of apprehending the two selves, ascertain the meaning of emptiness by means of the view, nurture it by way of flawless meditation, and accomplish special insight or meditative insight, the essence of wisdom.
다시 지난의 다니스야디 가사게 담에 다 취기 담에 이송을 지사 다니스 진배 가사게 다도 진배 다센다 취기 다도 주베스베 다센이디 네 파네 신유 파 신유까지네 안디되 네 지역가서 가사 다도 주바 진배지 가르친 것에 가사지 가라이마 랑문의 주바 나신 진거를 진바 나신디다 매바디 매바 또야다 아니 취기 다도 준바 취기 가사를 신비 취디게 미네 대소야 랑문의 주바 진바 진디여와 니 진바디기 진바 나신 매바디 동반이리 제산디 동반이 되는디 디니게 신유 진바 나신 매바 동반이 된 또고고래지리 디니스 진비기 친와 집에 칠도 돈이 돼 돈이 또 고고래스.
Then, so the Tibetan will start with, then in order to cut the apprehending of the two selves. So the two selves refer to the self of persons and the self of phenomena. So this refers to when whatever appears to one's mind, it appears as if it is truly or inherently or naturally existent, whether that is ourself or any other phenomenon. It appears as if it exists by way of its own nature, essence, or characteristic. So this is how the self and all other phenomena appear. So this is what the two selves refers to. But to be able to analyze its sufficient depth and subtlety to recognize that neither the self nor any other phenomenon exists in the way that it appears, but is rather empty of existing the way that it appears, and therefore one realizes emptiness. In order to be able to meditate deeply enough, one needs to cultivate meditative insight or special insight.
제발은 나중에 미지 탁박에 신간을 담샤베네 그 델다 되어마도 파수 줘서요 말와 다 탁박 봐 제샤베네 dinko 줘요 봐 디나쟁한 쪽에 따로지 탁박이 따 제샤샤베네 그 탁박가 제nhập 고라지 되어마도 딜레션다 탄 줘요 말와 탁박 봐 직제샤베네 닌데 거 그런 가와 줘서 돼서 있을 기프세 가와네 직 줘요 그런 되바나신 파 줘요 여러 봐 어디 지다 뒤로 탑에 진짜 봐요. 제자다 다니게 다니수 진비기 친와스데 당아서 코와레 마사지 게디나 까브레 밀리게나 까브레 할라게 까브레 냐와게 까르 dundu게 두서 코라지 코와 냐냐 기되바디 타발마서는 다신이디기 파 담샤교레세 코와딜 마타바 담샤바레세 지사 다신이디기 담샤교 타부에 담바나시 타발마서는 다신이디시 니기 담샤죠 코와레 마타바디 제바디 다신이디기 치고레세레 디기 칭와세 파 담샤바나시레세 지사다 칭와 차바제바 담샤 타바제바 나시 고 다신이디 파 빵샤바이나 빵바이나 데네 가르소레 안는 코와레 타르고레스 타제네 띵이 되와 타비고가 토주고로 와서 제자 칭와 집에시 제자 다진 빵바라 안다디 빵와라 칭와 제바디 딜마서나 가르신 동이도 비셔르지스 제자디 제자 동이 유된 도고고레스 동이 유된 도고고레스 제자 동이 유된 도비 동 또네 동이도 비셔르도 고명도 곰발레테네 다신 칭와 다신이데 파 빵고고레스 빵고고레 제자 되네 인사 당부 두신 동이 유된 도고고레스르다 된다데 디소레 칭와 이기 다니스 심비 칭와 세데 간사 다진다 추게 다진 이기 마즈리아 코와레 칭제 디기디나 디기 칭제 코와레 마타바데 담제베 디데스 디방발라 아니 동이 도고 동이 도불로 로 공발에 빵고거지 동이 도불로 공발라 동이 도고거레세 디스모데 칭와 이기 다진 니가사 다니스 심비 칭와 지비 치르도 안나 동이 된 도고거레세
So looking at this, the first half of the sentence, then to cut the fetters of apprehending the two selves, ascertain the meaning of emptiness by means of the view. So this term fetters can also be translated as binds or being bound. So we can draw up the picture in our mind of a horse that is tied to a post. So that horse has no freedom. It is tied to that post and cannot leave there. It may well want to run free through a field, but it cannot. It is tied or bound or fettered to that post. This is the situation that we have. We are tied or bound or supposedly fettered to cyclic existence. We have no freedom. We are bound without freedom in cyclic existence. Our death comes about without freedom. Our place and our place and realm of birth comes about without freedom. We have no choice in the matter. It happens due to our karma rather than due to our own choice. So therefore, we, like this horse which is tied to a post, we are tied or bound to cyclic existence. Life after life. Since beginningless time, this has been our predicament. And the reason why we are bound or fettered in this way is because of grasping at the two selves. Because we apprehend or grasp at these two selves, in other words, that the self and phenomena exist by way of their own nature, because of that, all our afflictions arise, and our karma that we accrue is contaminated. And this is how our prison of samsara is created. These chains of the afflictions that bind us in samsara, these are because of grasping at the two selves. So this is our current predicament, but it can be eradicated, as stated here. One can cut these fetters or these binds, apprehending or grasping the two selves, by ascertaining or realizing the meaning of emptiness. So by recognizing that the self is empty of existing in the way that it appears, that all phenomena are empty of existing in the way that it appears, one recognizes and eventually realizes emptiness. This then is how one comes to gain freedom from cyclic existence, freedom from the sufferings of samsara.
anda dene ge chisang tongyi tubi ge lo gomba la dene ane dasen ni de pa panggo ore chisang tongyi tubi lo gomba la tongyi to ho ho wa je chisang to ba da dene za da ganis to go sen 다위에 타쳐버 제라스 지산 다위에 타셔버 다위에서도 다 동반이도 로시고라 따와세데 따와 동반이도 겸바디 타쳐고래서 지산 당보 걸 당한 저기 네 근데 최탐제 란신 주변 동바의 레서지 켈람바 자마인바 심팅네 안디 레샤 심베 네바냐 바고 고래지 지산다 나지 동반이를 최탐제 란신 주변 동바에 세디 동이 도면은 나서 가는 바라 켈린에 지어로 바데 켈린바 디자미 디고 말레스 동반이 레서 켈린바 생이 디고 말레스 제가 동바 인상 간에서에 간에서 동고래 동비 김생 가래에 두 제바 제제 안두 심주제도 되는 셈이야 딩기 네번에 지 연구를 해서 네번에 제가 되는 네번에도 제가 동반이 또 동반이 뭐냐라 예샤 삼백에 동반이 또 배 따와도 끼어도 되는 다 쳐봐래 뒤임바 다 쳐봐 되는 태좀이네 연구 말해지 따위에 다 쳐봐서 동반이 또도 아니 나 최근 장지도 동바 예샤스나 다 치고래서 동반이 마도 봐도 동반이 레서 님들 가르쳐배는 타쳐 두고 말해서 제가 디네서 따위에 타셔봐지에서 동반이를 제바지 심주제 된 동반이 뒤 동이 되려도 다 동이게 해야 돼 인비게 되는데 대진 대화 준비 김제 삼단 제바제제 동반이 돼 동반이 또 형도 되는 타치고 그래지래 제가 따위에 타셔봐지라 진짜 동반이 또 배다와 맞게 봐도 동반이 켈린배 동반이 고셰베이네야 타쳐봐지요 말해서 그 타쳐요 말해서 진짜 디네서 타쳐봐라 동반이 또 고고래서 진짜 따위에 타쳐봐지에서 동반이 또 되는 동반이 또 같이 고래서
The way one eradicates the apprehending or grasping at the truly existent self of persons and phenomena is to realize emptiness. And the manner in which one comes to realize emptiness is through the view, which is what we have here. By means of the view. So the view refers to the view of reality. In other words, how things really exist, how phenomena really exist. And this, to actually be able to ascertain the meaning of emptiness by means of the view, one needs to have a deep understanding or a clear understanding of the view. But this understanding cannot be a mere acceptance of the presentation, even if one is quite certain about it. No, not certain. Yeah, even if one has a good understanding and doesn't dispute, this is insufficient. In other words, a merely intellectual understanding of the view is insufficient. It is not enough to merely understand the presentation of emptiness or even be able to propound it in an unmistaken manner. That is insufficient. One has to engage in extensive meditation with reasons, recognizing how the self and all phenomena in any circumstance is completely, at even the subtlest of levels, free or empty of any form of natural existence. Nothing in any way, whether coarse or subtle, exists by way of its own nature or essence. This merely being understood and accepted is insufficient. It has to be ascertained or realized. So the way we should understand a term like ascertain or realized is that there is no longer any doubt. One is definite in one's recognition of reality, that phenomena are empty of existing by way of their own nature. This is the realization of emptiness. And this is what is required in order to eliminate the two selves.
어디 되니게 내반에 타셔봐지 내내는 검술 만호와 양내에서 제자다 동방이 또 왔으면 지금 말다 동방들에 동방이 또 왔은 되니게 동방이라 야내 야도 공고라다 되니 검나되게 만호와 지나 공고를 검술 만호와 양내에서 두시노 야내 야도 공고를 해야 돼.
So what's being presented is the way what is kept us bound in samsara, or these the binds or these chains of grasping at the two selves, and this is eradicated by ascertaining or realizing the meaning of emptiness, and that is done by means of the view. And then in more detail, how is that the view cultivated within? It's nurtured by way of flawless meditation. In other words, one needs to meditate with the use of reasonings in an unmistaken manner repeatedly over a sustained period.
동반이 또 차유체라 동바들 미네야네는 곰 델야다 심지주의 얘기 딩이진 주의디 근데 지금도 시안에도 주체 딩이진 주보고래서 만노와 짱네 대한테 주주다들 만노와지는 직신의 무도신 주보고래서 곰고래서 또 곰서 만노와 짱네세 디스 짱네세 디스도.
So again, the method then, I'm presenting it from the back to the front, the method is to meditate repeatedly over a sustained period in an unmistaken manner, which means using valid reasons or correct reasons to reflect on the emptiness of the self and all phenomena, that even at the subtlest of levels, no natural existence or true existence can be found. And in this way, one comes to gain freedom from the grasping at the two selves and freedom from the sufferings of samsara. This meditation, though, needs to be engaged in repeatedly over a sustained period.
That Tompany let me begin things in cinema to buy that Tompany sometime Lord Paya, Payan or what you would to go Mara, choose Tompany dear some to in Topa in that Tompany sometime, and you would near Matuba Chagorova, just the same Namian church in. Just that Dineta, Tompany let me begin senior to Pores, just that Tompany Toba Zambi, Tompany to Bolo, the Nuba Chimbo to go, Nuba Chimbalena, ne Denzin Niki. 念佛去把念佛去图个帮图个念佛去图个嘛的，就在今天在东北你多把在嘛东北你多落地被女宝嘛说女宝全部学过了，这女宝全部学到的东北你个这个三大个就恐怕那样，你来那面嘛说这些念头被定义成过了，就在东北你来没别个新年主播了，说的的那个的公司马诺瓦讲的是都是东北你来没别新年。But
for this meditation to actually be flawless, it needs to the realization of emptiness needs to be ascertained or held in an undistracted manner. And without calm abiding, the mind will remain easily distracted. So here, what the meditator needs to do is meditate on emptiness in the way described, using reasonings again and again. And when they realize emptiness, they need to, because this realization of emptiness, this object is very subtle, so they need to train their mind to be able to hold now a very subtle object with calm abiding. Because in this way, when they eventually can hold the realization of emptiness with calm abiding, they will be able to deepen their familiarity with the realization of emptiness, because they can abide single-pointedly in an undistracted manner for as long as they want with this realization of emptiness. But to bring about this realization of of emptiness held by calm abiding, emptiness needs to be realized again and again, and each time it's realized, the meditator tries to hold that realization with calm abiding, and eventually they will be able to hold that subtle object with calm abiding.
And then there's a Tompany Dorje, that Tompany like me be Geshe Thubten Rabten, then you move about the Bantu or Vesene, the Bantu Mares, Jezada, Delia, 동반이라 미비게 실라 손주 두고 그래 셰라 lao 두고 그래지 제가 되니게자 셰라 만노아 짱니 셰라 경고 lao 두고 자오 제 동반이라 미비 신여주 신내디 안에 나 lao 두고 그래서 lao 두제 되니 실라 손지 동반이도 실라 손지 로직 깨어디 안디 공발에 때내다 녀모바게 녀보줘야 돼 뒤쪽도고마 동반이는 미비 lao 마줍나 근데 신이 두고 잠기 녀모바 녀보제 두고 말해지래
But as it says at the start of the sentence, to cut the fetters of apprehending the two selves. So to be able to do so, one needs to meditate extensively on emptiness, but that alone will not be able to cut the fetters of apprehending the two selves. One needs to have that realization of emptiness held with calm abiding. But even when the meditator comes to hold their realization of emptiness with calm abiding, and thereby can rest as long as they wish, or abide as long as they wish on their realization, on the realized emptiness, that too, though, will not be able to eradicate the grasping at a self as being truly existent. The meditator needs to go further and develop the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So having now cultivated calm abiding, holding the realization of emptiness, the meditator needs to go further. And this mind of calm abiding needs to be developed so that it becomes a union of both calm abiding and meditative insight or special insight. This is required for the mind to have sufficient strength for its realization of emptiness to be able to actually abandon the afflictions.
내가르스네 동반이라 미베 지지도 미베 신의 주바이나야 다 되니게 신의 줍차바이네 다 셰랍기 제바제 차도 야보고 되마도 제 여주고 그래 제가 여주고 그래 다 되니 이제 다 신의 디안에 다 lao 주변도 그 제지도 유 동반이 되베 셰르 띵이 진디 진내라 제지도 미신병 안에 셰르게 제바체나야 아니 그 제지 네 투바치 쓰고 그래 지산 되니게 고면도 다고 당보 제지 동반이라 신의 줍차제 대신에 제주도 내야도 한 셰르비파 제발 제야도 남사대 제주 내면도 봐 차르고 그래. 지산 디 다데네게 두시네 야네 양도 두시 제주 내 양 셰르비 제발 야네 두시 야네 두시도 난 가슴 찔려 띵인 진디기 유동반일 제주도 내신병 안에 셰르비까지 제발 제나야 강하기네메 벌루심 신도 자위게 데네게 대화지 되는게 강한 매바 레어도 날 하도 주고 그래지 다지네 주변도 동반이를 미비고 로디다 실학송을 차송하대 제가 실학송에서도 동반이를 미비 띵인진의 제주도 내시병 안에 니로바 셰럽디기 제바 가지 제베나 미바 맞춰야지 다다 내도야지 제바 제도바 제주도 내도바 니가 지금 두고 그래 제가 실학송을 주고 어디 용도 되다 니고 그래 니게 될 때에다 녀모베게 녀보도 주고 그래 방고 그래지래.
So to understand why calm abiding, the wisdom that realizes emptiness, that wisdom being a mind of calm abiding, to understand why that is insufficient to actually eradicate the afflictions, one needs to understand what calm abiding can do and what it cannot do. Calm abiding is a mind of single-pointed concentration, where its object can be held without distraction for an unlimited time, for as long as the meditator chooses. This understanding of when a mind holds its object with calm abiding, the mind does not move. So there are two words that can be translated as distraction. One of them, in other contexts, is translated as wavering or even movement. So a mind of calm abiding doesn't waver from the object, doesn't move from the object. It just holds the object, steady, stable. This means so this is what the mind of calm abiding can do. What it cannot do is therefore move, because all it can do is hold stably. This has a great benefit of one becoming deeply habituated to the object one has realized. but one cannot move the mind. As soon as one moves the mind, calm abiding is lost. In order for one's realization of emptiness to have sufficient strength, not only does the realization of emptiness need to be held with calm abiding, but whilst being held with calm abiding, further analysis is required. So it was mentioned that one needs to use correct reasonings in order to realize emptiness. So using correct reasonings, this is analysis, this is investigation. Then one comes to realize emptiness, holding it with calm abiding. But now, Lama Tsongkhapa is saying, we need to continue to analyze, continue to investigate, whilst holding with calm abiding. So this means the meditator now needs to develop their calm abiding so that it can also, the meditator needs to develop their mind so that they do not lose their calm abiding and can also investigate. That would be the mind of special insight or meditative insight, where one is able to investigate, analyze without losing calm abiding. When one can do that, one has the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. Then one investigates, realizes emptiness, can hold it with calm abiding, and without losing that calm abiding. In other words, the mind, the object of emptiness is held stably, free of distraction, but what the mind now can intentionally be moved. In other words, one can investigate further. This is the process, this is the application of meditative insight. Further, deeper analysis, free of distraction. Now the mind has sufficient strength to be able to eventually eradicate the afflictions.
제가 두 장고라 대 장어도 가슴 찔레다 그 우마 땅제 우마 파푸 겹신병 안에 우수天 이가 용한 투야지 용차 자야도와 제가 당보 장도 걸로 마땅도 우수天도 마땅에 가루도와 전에 마땅에도 수天의 용투요 말아 대도 정의정의제도 가슴 찔이야 우마푸서 땅 뒤에 갑려 우수天지 이가 용투바지 용도와데 안디나신제도와데 그 띵이 징고 유들을 제지도 내신병 안에 시럽디기 띵한래 제바제도 권념들이 도와지 이가 념들 도와지 디나신베 길레다도 그 우마 파다야다 수天 이가 념도 제투에 뉴버실에 여러와데 디나신제도 지발에도 와다 베로스.
So if you think of what one is trying to do with the union of calm abiding and meditative insight is to have all the benefits of calm abiding as well as to still be able to intentionally move the mind and only move the mind in the way that you want. In other words, it will still be free of distraction, but the mind is moving. This then, His Holiness likens to the playing of the Tibetan wind instruments, which is similar, I think it's called, translated as flute, but I think it's more similar to a clarinet, where you're blowing through a thin reed and you're exhaling to play the instrument. But in order to play for a lengthy period, the musician needs to train so that they can both exhale as well as inhale at the same time. So of course we normally do this sequentially, but the musician needs to train their body so that they can do the two simultaneously. This then is similar to the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, where the mind can hold the object single-pointedly, but can also intentionally, the mind can move. That is the union of calm abiding and meditative insight.
상기에 고방 토발라 답변은 상기에만 다르베 고방 토발라 녀모보 방발라 다 동방이라 미비 신의 주 신의 딩한 동방이 하도 마주바나 아니 녀모보 방토에 주네 매바래 근데 전주선 방안 저기 당번에 전주 야 태바 침별 당번에 태바 침별 남려야 전주선 게 근데 전주선 바 소람바 차바이네야 동방이라 미비 신의 주바이네야 동방이라 미비 하도 마주바만 마도바도 주마돔나 소람네 졸람네 알레 두고 말해 지상 소람네 졸람네 발라 동반이라 미비시니 사동 신의 줍 신의 딩하나 사동 두고 거래 지상 소람 얘네가서 동반이라 미 동반이 또바 용고라 동반이라 미비시니 줍바 용고래 지나다 사동 주마돔나 네 소람네 졸람네 리투고 말 거 사동 주면 동반이라 미비 사동 토비오도 거 졸람마 차르고 그래지 지상 진짜 거 야야 줘발라 동반이 또 별로디 뭐 공배 조고도 마도 신의다 가서데 신의다 추점나 셔바다 준르기 삼대 냠는가 제요나 동반이 또 별로디 야 공배도 마도나 엔 전주선배네 야 가서 초람네 졸람네 통라네 공람네 조토에 메데
So therefore, the meditator needs to develop first calm abiding and then meditative insight, so as to have a union of the two together. This is indispensable for the consciousness of wisdom to have sufficient strength for its realization of emptiness to be able to eventually eradicate the afflictions. Without eradicating afflictions, Buddhahood, the goal of the Bodhisattva, cannot be attained. So for a Bodhisattva, whose first attainment of the path of accumulation is the Mahayana path of accumulation. In other words, they haven't progressed first through the Tibetan paths, but their first path that they attain is the Mahayana path of accumulation. For this Bodhisattva to progress through the path of accumulation, having calm abiding, realizing emptiness, or the calm abiding holding the realization of emptiness is sufficient. But they will not be able to progress from the Mahayana path of accumulation to the Mahayana path of preparation without the union of calm abiding and meditative insight realizing emptiness. In fact, it is that very union of calm abiding and meditative insight, that wisdom realizing emptiness, that is the demarcation or the boundary between the Mahayana path of accumulation and the Mahayana path of preparation. And for this Bodhisattva, on the path of accumulation, no matter how well developed their compassion, their bodhicitta, their patience, their ethics, and so forth, and as well as their concentration, no matter how well developed that is, and they may well have the union of calm abiding meditative insight, but on a coarser object, they cannot progress to the second of the five paths without having the union of calm abiding meditative insight, realizing emptiness. This is the boundary between the path of accumulation and the path of preparation.
네 지금 송고를 와다가 되게 되게 가르친 당보 네 지금 전주샘게 되는 전주샘be 돈바송 되는 전주샘비게 네 지금 저발 라비아당 네 지가서래 돈 저발 랍되게 삼바게 되는 전주샘be 돈바송 주dom래 세베자라 전주샘비게 자동되게 하고 송고를 해서 수름되게 하고 송고를 해서 지난 뒤송해야 되게 수름 송해야 되게 또다 띵인진 주야를 마선나 마슬 마선 시를 마선 되게 용고를 해서 수름 송해야 되게 지난에 수름 송해야 돼서 송고를 그래서 수름 송도에 샘 헬이야 묘모고 초다이 파 차산두스 까고요 봐서 샘 계획 초수 뒤고를 봐 될리아네게 탑람도 소용으로 봐 지난 수름 송해야 되게 띵이진 주비에게 실을 마선 골을 마선 되는 수고를 지난 수름 송고를 해서 다 수름 송하지 산에 되네 안지단에 파신 주기 롭종 냠는 지역고를 돼 이나 될이야 미시기에는 신의 주고를 해서 네 신의 주에 대한 동반이를 미비 신의 주 되네 동반이를 미비 신의 주 되네 동반이를 미비 신의 주 세베체라 네 동반이를 하동 주고를 해서 제사디 뒷김전 가르람나 아주 코웨를 타르체 타고고를 때 타발라 뇽몽바 대진 가자 대진의 추기 다진이의 방고고를 디마방발라 코발레 타르투고 마 제가 디방발라 동반이를 미비게 하동도 고고레스 제가 디네 인자다 네 동반이 미비시네 주 디네 동반이를 하동 주고레스 당한적에 람냠링이 림발로 두스 림바다 두스치네 고름는 마스 두스스레 세등한줄에 두스 송고를 네
what we've then looked at over the last number of weeks is the very stages of training for the bodhisattva. First, the foundation of the trainings of a practitioner of initial intermediate capacity is established. Thereafter, one engages in the trainings of the practitioner of great capacity, generating bodhicitta. Then, as we looked at last night, one goes for the unique Mahayana refuge, generates aspiring bodhicitta, and then reflects on the precepts or the trainings of aspiring bodhicitta, those 4. Thereafter, one reflects on the many benefits of the trainings of the bodhisattva, such as the 6 perfections and so forth, and then takes the vow of the bodhisattva. And now we've looked at that in order to be able to progress further, one requires calm abiding, and having generated calm abiding, one also requires meditative insight, those 2 being brought together in a union, with the 2 being present or operational together, the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. And that eventually needs to have as its object emptiness. One may well, the meditator may well have long prior developed the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, but applied it to coarser objects of meditation. But eventually, the subtle object of emptiness needs to be realized with the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, in order to progress through the various bodhisattva paths. And then to say in addition, so that's what's been covered. Then to say in addition, in order to be able to cultivate calm abiding and later meditative insight, one requires the foundation or the basis of ethical restraint. Ethical restraint is the very foundational basis for calm abiding. Without a well subdued mind, one's mind will not be able to hold an object single-pointedly. Ethical restraint restrains the mind from coming under being overwhelmed by the afflictions. This enables the mind to be more subdued or tamed. This then enables the eventual attainment of calm abiding. So therefore, in addition to what's being presented in here, understand that in order to develop calm abiding and meditative insight, the indispensable foundation is ethical restraint.
Dusine Zile Dadan Hanzo Josa Lamgalam on the Yamlinje Tanki Jimbaru Sabdal Mason di said Motrici Gorwach is not the Yamlin Jimbatin in the Chekore, said Motrici. She's not the Niki Jimbati, Damboti, Nibati, Sumbati, or Shibati, Dus Yamlin Jimbati Pa, Chasan, Sosarangi, the Niki, Manzuki Pa, Jandoche, Hakowache, the Nesosaran that Jige. 네 엠발리아 참 조드 다디네 림바디게 차사 안당보디 제가 림바디 차사 지 하고 바이나 대고냠네 제게 림바디 차사 딱다루 지두고 제가 데네게 림바디게 마켄 바이나 데네 네엠바 참 조는데 지가 당보 동의의 약보에서는 자침보에서 동의고 섬단데 네 림바 마켄 동의 지자 하고에 갈래 하고 차 데네 냠네 림바디 다바메지 네 룸데 튼도야 갈래 하고 차고 제가 데네자 디네기 냠네기 림바 조탕티 신고에디 예치 모샤고로 왔다 먼저 내가 가리나 다가로 왔네 가리나 내가 가리나 직제기 고 조탕지 하고 신고 신바이나 근데 내가 제마 마음바나 아니 가르가와 제베네 가와도네 내가 제베네 다다 제투야나 내가 제다기 림바 고림디 마신바이나 데네 강아체 연구로 어디나신다 냠네기 림바 조탕 림바 당보디네 니바디네 삼다디네 레세 림바 차사지 하고 바체 디 세미야 뱅에바 야고고에 계치 못하고 디네 인자다 디네게 림버트나 다른 중의시 냠는 제 림버 고조에 드시니 말레기로와 제가 디녜래야다 림바 디네 당보 디르다 니바 디르 숨바 디르다 바 삽드라라 마손 바두시네 림바디 숨고를 당하지 디 삽드라디 된거로 제가 디 림바 디네 제고를 해서다 냠는 제당 근데 당보 간에 제와 니바 간에 제와 숨바 간에 제고래 근데 시발 디네 제사디 운두신 림바디 마순고래
The very purpose of this chapter here is so that we can understand right at the outset of this text the stages in which we need to train our mind. So it's what has been presented here is kind of like the map that one needs to travel along in order to go from being an ordinary being to being a Buddha. So the various stages have been outlined, the sequence of trainings that one needs to go through. So just like a map will have highlighted various road marks, so that one identifies that on the route you go from here to there, to there, to there, and eventually arrive at your destination. That is the purpose of what is being presented here. And why is it required? Because when the time comes to go somewhere isolated and enter into solitary retreat, this needs to be very clear to oneself. Because if it is not, and again, for something to be clear to oneself is not merely having heard it, but so that it has had an impact on your mind. Because what one wants to counteract is going into solitary retreat and meditating on the topic that you are most drawn towards, that you have a predisposition towards. Let's say it's a topic of emptiness. You go into solitary retreat, you apply yourself to training in emptiness, but you haven't yet cultivated sufficiently the prior stages. You will not achieve your objective. You will gain some benefit, of course, but you will not achieve your objective. So just like in society, before you get your children to do something, or if an employer to get an employee to do something, you explain to them what the purpose is, why we want to do this, or why I'm asking you to do this, and how you should do it is then explained. So here, this is the purpose of this chapter, is so that one can understand the sequence of trainings, recognizing, much later in the text, we will come to the detailed presentation in how to develop calm abiding. But rather than being excited and moving ahead to the chapter that draws you, one comes to understand through this presentation in this chapter that each of the previous steps are required to be cultivated within in order for the later steps to actually be achievable. This then sets out establishes that within oneself, so that as we slowly move through this text, you keep applying yourself to that meditation topic, with the goal, eventually, I'll be able to achieve those later realizations.
And dedar nasa shila druba mato bigu jugdum gi labjala loba manche ni tsurum gi labadang shine ni sem gi labadang ladong ni shere gi labale labaras lamdrin jawa songsos.
And to the next paragraph. Accordingly, except for the accomplishment of shamatha and special insights, everything up to and including training in the vow of engaging bodhicitta constitutes the training in ethics. Commentary on the difficult points of the lamp for the path says that shamatha is the training in concentration and special insight is the training in wisdom.
Change simple Yamden Chazan, the Duban, Labasumna, the Dudurege, Labasumna, Duvorege, Chazan Labasumna, Dudu, and Labasumna, Karaka, Dure, Lamna, Dene, Shine, Mane, Dedana, Shila, Sunje, Matopa, the Tombanilla Bibi, Shila, Sunre Matoba, and Jimba, Benema, Jam Nijo Combata, and Jam Nijo Comia, Chanju Sem, and Jimbe, Yamna, Surin, the Surin, Tundri, Yamlen, ne. Jidang something shine tiki tomba yin bibi shine member jidang shine gi nyamne dis chaza kardu gon to go rasene dis chaza ne tsurumi labana labina charu go yes kasa tingi zimbarda jeza jamni je komya jangju sem goya jibe nyamne tsurim nyamne an sebe nyamne zunre nyamne che chorwa disu nyamne chaza karcha go rasene 라바숨이나네 추릉이 라베 공차고래 해서마도 띵이 전에 라바다 셔르기 라베 차고 말아 추릉이 라베 공나는 차고래 지상 추릉이 라베 나는 뒤고래 해제래.
The entirety of the training of a bodhisattva or that is included within the 3 higher trainings. And as stated here, everything up to the development of shamatha and special insight, or calm abiding and meditative insight, all of those prior meditations are included within the higher training of ethics. So therefore, all the steps to cultivate bodhicitta, and the steps including love and compassion, and the foundational trainings before that, love and compassion, bodhicitta, and then the trainings of the bodhisattvas such as ethical restraint, generosity, joy, perseverance, patience, all of these are included in the higher training in ethics.
대신 한저 가르쳤는데 미니 냠는 지리가 담보 잠바다 니제 곰티네 네지게 라산 남다게 드네 마지나네 전주 셈게 드네 전주 셈베게 네 전주 셈베게 네지게 아까서 전주 셈베게다 모심게 모심게 랍잘 발랍 드네 전주 셈베 돈바송 드네게 돈바송네 전주 셈베 돈바 네 돈바래야 자동디 송야 지어봐 온디 디 랍정 만지 차상하다 그래서네 디 라바디 추르미 라바다나 차로 그래서 디만체시 돈발 돔장 가소레 죽돔 gel랍자 러로바 만체에서 디마지다 림발 막도 시데네 다른 한조 가서 죽돔 좀 있는 죽돔 gel랍자 라바다 죽돔 게네 지금 추르미 라바디 차로와 디만체다 가르쳐 버렸으네 추르미 라바나 차로 그래서.
So the second line, everything up to and including training in the vow of engaging bodhicitta constitutes the training in ethics. So this refers to all those meditations we engaged in order to generate bodhicitta, cultivating the required foundation, love, compassion, wholehearted resolve, bodhicitta, as well as then the trainings of aspiring bodhicitta and the vow of the bodhisattva, as well as then guarding our mind from the our downfalls. So all of this that we looked at above, everything up to the point of cultivating calm abiding and special insight, everything up to that is included in the higher training of ethics.
지당 저게 유강을 미미 신의 주변에 딩에지 신의다 나 동반이를 미비 신의 주변에 신의디게 내가서 셈기 라바나 차게 딩에지 셈기 라바서 딩에지 라바죠 그래서 안에 딩에지 라바를 해서 그러다.
But thereafter, Lama Tsongkhapa presented the need to develop calm abiding and meditative insight. These two are included in the higher training of concentration.
나데네 동반이를 하도니세 동반이를 미비게다 하도디 차도니 시럽디데 하도디 시럽이 라바나라 샤게레스 시럽이 라바나 라바스 난 람드르기 제완 람르기 제완을 봐 딘딘데 송요레시레. 하도디 신의만에 하도호로 하도디다 하도 시럽와 디네 하도디다 시럽이 라바나라 디그레시.
So the development of calm abiding is included in the higher training and concentration, whereas the development of special insight is included, or the usage of special insight maybe, is included in the higher training of wisdom.
안다디 두시네 강사지기도 냠랭이 림보두스레디 디바도다 두시네 간실레 장스미 돈바 수만에 돈바 마 수베 냠랭 만체 수중 라바나르디 자세 돈바 손에 되는 돈바니레 미데 신의 주비에게 사도마도게 신의 주비에 저러와 신의지 띵이 신의지부로 와데 띵이지 라바나 디고레스 데 돈바니레 미 신의 줍찬에 신의 디 안에 제바집에 셰라지 하던 주 셰라 저러와 하던 디 네셰라 라바나 디고레스 니 간사지 냠랭 림바 순고로 신의 줍사 이니 라톤 마트코는 라톤 요마르와 제가 탑주집에 띵이 진대 신의 저러와 띵이 진 라바나 디고레스 왔다.
라톤 조피에 탑시 제주 종자 제주 조파성 이 탑시 제기에 데르 셰럽세게
데 셰럽 지어르 데디 셰럽 데 라바숨나 데디 시고 말다. 디가서 something 신의 주베데 신의 디 띵이 진 라바나 디고레스. 데디가서 셰럽 여러와 데 셰럽 디 시고 말다. 신의 띵이 라바 두그레제 신의 줍츠네 신의 디가네 동반이름이 벨 하동 두비게 셰럽디 가르차게라나 디 아니 셰럽기 라바나 두그레제 다데디가 아주 간사 지유 그런 냠랭이 림바도 신의 송인데 림바디마 디레디 디샤리 디지 디레사 시고래 네디 디시 제일시 어디 결혼 똑바딩 하고
So the higher training in concentration and wisdom, this is the cultivation of calm abiding is included in the higher training in concentration, and we'll see whether it's the cultivation of special meditative insight or the use of a meditative insight is included in the higher training in wisdom.
다디 딩한족이 두신은 얌내기 림바 두신 대지 림바 저타되는 디 뒤타디 송거래 다 지단에 가서 진보 수리 쇠바 안에 지가 전주 안에 잠니지 니 냠는 차사다 골라봤습니다네 차야되다 추딩이라베 공마디 되네 신의 주역의 신의 차사 동반일레 미비 신의 나라 디멤비게 신의 나 띵이진 차사 띵이진라베나디 되네 전주세모 솔람바도 동반일레 미 신의 뭐 동반인도 비 셰럽지요로와 동반인도 비 셰라 가자 다메바 또 비 셰라 유가 레규디 또비 셰럽지요로와 셰럽 차가인 바데다 셰럽길라베나 뒤로고래 지다다 진짜 띵이진 가인 바데 신의 차가인 바데 띵이진 라바체 셰럽게 차가인 바데 네 셰럽게 라바나제 디멤비게다 진바도 수준세바 전주디게 수직이 라바나지 그래서 다디 지다는 시고래 근데 전주sembo 솔람비귤라 신의 요래 동방이 또비 셰라 요래 제 동방이 또비 셰라들 하도 말해 데니 가르라네 라바스미네 가르스네 셰럽게 라바래 그래서 코로 셰럽으로와 셰럽인자 셰럽게 라바 신의 띵이진디게 띵이진게 라바 띵이진 가인 바데게다 네 신의 랍도 띵이진 차 차상 가인 바데 띵이진게 라바뉴 디멤비게다 잠바다 니제다 제수 차상데 제수네 가소래 코로나즈 추링게 라베나 뒤두고 해야지 갑라 셰럽지 요로와 띵이진데 라와 해제 아니 탑시지디 띵이진데 탐시 띵이진 신에디 띵이진 라바래 디네 가서 셰럽지 요로와 디 띵이진 라바 말해 네 신의 죽지 하던 두배 가서 디 예와 지불로 셰럽으로와 디 셰럽레 디 딩이 징이라바 말해지 지다 디 달라바스네 가래는 디 셰럽 길라바래라 그랬다 다디 디 지다네 데니기 신의 죽네 하던 두배 내가 하던 두요 말해 제바 지가 셰럽기 띵이진 라바레베 셰르라바레라네 셰르기 라바레 띵이진 라바 마레스 지다네 다디 디샤야데라 신의 줍차데네 하던 줍데 디기 시고로 간사지 얌랭이 바셰로와 디나신 땅아주 지다네 셰바이나 셰럽기 차강인 바디 신의 줍에 내가서 제바지 셰럽 신의 마줍에 내가서 동방이 또베 동방이나 제바지베 셰럽 동방이 또베 셰럽스 차상 셰르기 라바나레 예제 딘 어두스네
So as mentioned then all the trainings prior to that of concentration, so love, compassion, generosity, ethics, patience, and joyous perseverance, these are all included in the higher training of ethics. The higher training of concentration is solely the development of calm abiding. But and then in the higher training of wisdom is the usage of wisdom. So this word that we translate as wisdom, it also means intelligence. So what I was trying to get clarity on is when you have calm abiding, but you are trying to develop a special insight, even that trying to develop special insight, this is included in the higher training of wisdom. So for example, if you have calm abiding on the face of the Buddha, you can't move from the face of the Buddha to say just the eye, because that's movement, and then you lose your calm abiding. But now you're trying to develop special insight. So this is the usage of wisdom or intelligence, which moves the mind from one object, so from the face, to say just the eye. So that is moving of the mind, it's using intelligence, and it's included in the higher training of wisdom, because you are trying to cultivate special insight. So when you have special insight or meditative insight, this is of course that its usage is included in the higher training of wisdom, but so too is the cultivation of meditative insight.
다 되는게 셔럽 강의 바차디 셔럽 기리 강의 바디 다 셔럽이 라베나로 수디고레스 다 셔럽 당 띵이 지 마인 바샹다 리 가리 바차지디 수링이 라베나로 디고레스 다 거시 뒤라도 두신다나리.
So let's just say it again, but from the back. So what's included in the higher training of wisdom is where one is using wisdom or intelligence, or where one is engaging in analysis on emptiness, and ideally with special insight, as well as the cultivation of meditative insight. The cultivation of calm abiding, this is included in the higher training of concentration, and all before that, all the various meditation topics before that are included in the higher training of ethics.
띵이 신의 강의 바디 띵이 지기라 베나라자 디 시럽다 신의 가야 마인게다 람 냠네 가리나 차사 근데 추링이라 베날 바 뒤로 그래서 뒤단뒤 숨도.
So in this way one comes to understand how the training of the bodhisattva is included within the three higher trainings, with that associated with wisdom, in particular meditative insight is included in the higher training of wisdom, whereas cultivation of calm abiding or shamatha is included in the higher training of concentration, and everything prior to that is included in the higher training of ethics. And then this just serves to emphasize that ethics is the foundation for concentration.
저게 대신에 단달라 저기 냠람링이 림바데 안 담보 잔쇼 셈게 되는 주비 돈바송 되는 주동기 돈바 파랍 되는 저거 바로 심부절 라비아다 주동 자동 송야 되는 송 디젤라네 등에지 돈바니를 미비 신년 주 되는 돈바니를 신년 주 체제라 안 돈바니를 하동 주 보고래 시림바디시에 다 되는 자다 안 되는 게 냠랭 지게 림바이 가자기 냠랭 게 림바디게 안 다 라바숨나네 가라가리 뒤그래야 랍나 다 되는 게 냠랭 집에 내가기 신의 강인 바디 띵이지 라바차로 그래 라베나 뒤로 그래 셰럽게 냠랭 강인 바디 네 가소라 셰르기 라베나로 뒤그래 디 멤버 샨다 냠랭지게 차사 네 추링기 라베나로 뒤그래 세데 냠랭 림바 차사 라바숨이나 뒤탄디 되네 세 어디 도시들이 다 지는 거 쇼게 돼 예자스나리거든.
So what we've looked at in brief last night and this morning is that when one generates bodhicitta, then one engages in the special or the unique Mahayana refuge and the ritual for aspiring bodhicitta. Thereafter, one reflects on the trainings or precepts of aspiring bodhicitta, on those four, and having done so, one reflects on the many benefits or the practices of the bodhisattva, the six perfections and the four ways of positively influencing others. Thereafter, one takes the bodhisattva vow, and then what we came to today is one engages in the actual six perfections. One practices on the actual six perfections. And of the six, one should have a particular focus on the cultivation of concentration and wisdom. And then we also looked at concentration and wisdom, and to do so, one needs to develop the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. And then lastly, we've just looked at how all these trainings of the bodhisattva are included within the three higher trainings. They are not separate or distinct from the three higher trainings. So we'll conclude therefore this morning, but if you have any questions, then feel free to ask. Andy at the back.
With the two types of aspiring bodhicitta, so contrived and uncontrived, just want to check,
So with uncontrived and contrived bodhicitta, is uncontrived bodhicitta only achieved by a bodhisattva? Yeah. Okay.
주메기 장시쌤. 예. 주마와. 주마 마인바들라 monsem이 용어로 주고서게 니가 용어를 장주쌤이 주게 장주쌤께 사회 제라 쌤 장주쌤 차사다 주베쌤께 나 mon바쌤께 나 주마 마인바래. 주마디 매니 장주쌤 주마 장주쌤 마게니라. 쌤께 그런 말은 뭐네 말이야. 주마스도 뭐네 마인바다 장주쌤께야 담델이 되는 시 세서.
So the sequence goes like this. First, there's uncontrived bodhicitta. First, there's contrived bodhicitta. So this word contrived is also manufactured or created. So it's what is intentionally generated again and again and again. So it's intentionally generated. This is contrived. And this is generated by non-bodhisattvas alone. When the habituation to contrived bodhicitta is so great that it arrives in an uncontrived or a spontaneous manner, that is uncontrived bodhicitta. And the moment that uncontrived bodhicitta arises, that practitioner is a bodhisattva who possesses aspiring bodhicitta. When so now they are bodhisattvas and they have aspiring bodhicitta, which is uncontrived. When they take the vow of the bodhisattva, their same uncontrived bodhicitta that was suitable to be called aspiring bodhicitta is now suitable to be called engaged bodhicitta. So uncontrived bodhicitta can be both aspiring or engaged. Okay. And thank you very much.